Welcome back, everyone, to True Crime Tales, where we delve into the darkest corners of reality. From chilling mysteries to bone-chilling crimes, we bring you haunting tales that are not for the faint-hearted. Join us as we uncover the truth behind real-life nightmares. And please, don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button so we can keep you updated on our latest investigations. Hello and welcome to another haunting true story today. The haunting legacy of Sach and Walters in the Cradle of Shadows. In the foggy, dimly lit streets of late 19th century London, two shadows lurked amidst the fog, their sinister intentions shrouded in secrecy. Born into a world of hardship and poverty, Amelia Sach and Annie Walters emerged as formidable figures in the eerie streets of Victorian London, England. Amelia Sach, 29, and Annie Walters, age 54, her partner in crime, would soon embark on a chilling journey that would shake the very foundations of society. As the Victorian era teetered on the edge of progress and despair, these two women would come to be known not for their nurturing care, but for the tragic demise of innocent souls entrusted to their care. In the heart of Borough Finchley, London, amidst the quaint charm of Claymore House, a facade of maternal warmth concealed a grim reality. Here, Amelia Sach and Annie Walters, born into hardship, twisted the very essence of caregiving into a macabre dance of death. Their reign of terror, spanning the late 19th century, saw the lives of countless innocent infants extinguished under their neglectful gaze. Born in 1861, Sach, alongside Walters, presided over a house of horrors where the cries of infant souls echoed through the halls, silenced only by the cold hand of fate. The exact tally of their victims remains shrouded in darkness, a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. So this is where our house of horrors start. Amelia Sach, a name that would echo through the narrow, dark back streets of London, emerged from the shadows of Victorian England with a chilling tale of deception and death. Born Frances Amelia Thorne on May 5th, 18th century, in the quaint village of Hampreston, Dorset, England, little did the world know the darkness that lay dormant within her soul. She was the fourth child of 10, surrounded by the quiet desperation of poverty that often haunted the working class families of the era. In 1896, Sach took her first steps into a new life, marrying Geoffrey Sach, a builder whose name would soon be overshadowed by the macabre legacy of his wife. But it was not until years later, amidst the creeping tendrils of the 20th century, that Sach's true nature would be revealed. By 1902, she had carved out a sinister empire from the shadows of Claymore House, a semi-detached villa nestled in the heart of East Finchley, North London. Here, Sach's facade of maternal care masked a house of horrors, where the cries of innocent young souls echoed through the hallways at Claymore House. But Sach's story was not one of mere malevolence. It was a twisted tapestry woven with threads of deceit and desperation. She was a qualified midwife, entrusted with the sacred duty of bringing life into the world. Yet, behind her mask of professionalism, lurked a predator whose thirst for profit knew no bounds. Yet, Sach's descent into darkness was not a solitary journey. Her lifestyle not exactly a guardian angel bringing life into the world, but more of a black widow full of spinning lies and deceit that extended even into her personal life. Despite her role as a mother, a guardian of life's most precious gift, Sach's own daughter, Lillian, born in the bustling streets of Clapham, bore witness to the twisted reality of her mother's existence. The England and Wales Census Board of the year back in 1901 painted a portrait of domestic tranquility. Yet behind closed doors, Lillian's innocence was tarnished by the specter of her mother's crimes. But Sach's deception knew no bounds. In a world where youth was revered and age scorned, she shamelessly shaved years off her true age, presenting herself to the world as a woman in the bloom of her youth, when in reality she was 32, not 29 as she claimed. Her lies, like the cobwebs that adorned the corners of Claymore House, served to ensnare the unsuspecting victims who crossed her path. Alongside Sach stood Annie Walters, her true partner in crime, a woman whose past was as murky as the depths of the Thames on a foggy night. Married, and grappling with a drinking problem that threatened to consume her, Walters drifted through life, her existence a haze of uncertainty and despair. Periodically, she would disguise herself as a freelance nurse, advertising herself in her own lodgings window for lying-in services, aimed at young women and mothers-to-be, mostly maids and servants, certainly young women without means and poor who got themselves pregnant. Walters offered a fleeting respite from the guilt, shame, and disgrace that these mothers had to burden themselves with. Her life took a sinister turn when she joined forces with Amelia Sach in the baby farming business. In the howling, grieving times of the late Victorian era, a darkness gripped the hearts of mothers, shrouding them in a veil of despair and agony. In a world marked by social stigma and desperation, unmarried mothers found themselves cast adrift in a sea of uncertainty, their cries for help drowned out by the harsh whispers of society's condemnation. In these hard times, the practice at the heart of our story thrived, lurking in the shadows like a specter of death. With birth control measures inadequate and abortion illegal, the parents of unwanted children faced few options, their hopes dashed against the unforgiving rocks of societal norms. Infanticide, abandonment, or the heartbreaking act of surrendering a child to relatives or institutions became their grim choices, each one a dagger to the heart of maternal love. Yet, amidst the darkness, a sinister solution emerged: baby farming. For a fee, these individuals, clad in the disguise of caregivers, offered a glimmer of hope to desperate mothers, promising to provide care for their unwanted children. But behind the charade of maternal warmth lay a cold and calculating reality. For some, the infant's death equaled a greater profit, for their tiny lives sacrificed on the altar of greed. The cries of these innocent souls echoed through the hallways of Claymore House, and countless other abodes, their silent screams a testament to the depravity of those who sought to profit from their suffering. In a world where lies and deceit between life and death for profit blurred into obscurity, the tears of grieving mothers mingled with the blood of poor souls, staining the pages of history with a tale of horror and despair. As the winds sweep through the streets, the voices of these forgotten mothers rose in unison, their grief, a haunting memory through the ages. Yet, even in the darkest depths of despair, a flicker of hope remained, a beacon of light amidst the encroaching shadows. For it is in the telling of their story that we honor their memory, shining a light on the darkness that once threatened humanity. As Sach and Walters embarked on their sinister journey, a partnership formed in East London, the tangled web of their crimes began to unravel. From the turn of 19th century, they cast their web wide and far across London, luring in vulnerable unmarried mothers with promises of salvation. For a fee, judging from witnesses' accounts, these desperate mothers entrusted their precious infants to Sach and Walters' care, believing they would find a better life through adoption. Yet, behind the veil of deceit, a chilling reality lurked. The women's lying-in home business concealed a darker truth, where innocent souls were merely commodities to be bought and sold. Under the disguise of charity, Sach and Walters pocketed hefty sums, their hearts as cold as ice, and the graves they filled. The price for a future parent's hope ranged from £25 to £30, a significant sum in those harsh and unforgiving times. But to Sach and Walters, it was merely another sinister gift. The innocent souls, who fell into the clutches of Sach and Walters, faced a fate more horrifying than any nightmare. Under the pretense of love and care, It is not known exactly how many souls were lost during this period. It was never discovered the real truth. But what we do know is Annie Walters would take custody of the newborns, in their tiny forms cradled in her arms, unaware of the darkness that awaited them. And so, in a twisted perversion of mercy, she would administer 2 drops of lethal dose of chlorodyne in their milk before bedtime. Chlorodyne was one of the best-known patent medicines sold in the British Isles. It was invented in the 19th century by a Dr. John Collis Brown, a doctor in the British Indian Army. Its original purpose was in the treatment of cholera. Brown sold his formula to the pharmacist, a medicine laced with morphine, an analgesic and narcotic drug obtained from opium and used medicinally to relieve pain, which sealed their fates with a single drop. But for some, even death proved elusive. In those tragic cases, suffocation became the chosen method, their cries stifled by the cold hand of their caregiver. Their fragile bodies, robbed of breath and life, met gruesome ends, their once vibrant spirits extinguished in the blink of an eye. The depths of Sach and Walters' depravity knew no bounds. With callous disregard for the sanctity of life, they disposed of the infant's remains with the same casual cruelty as one discards rubbish. Some were cast into the murky depths of the River Thames, London, their silent cries swallowed by the waters, while others were left to rot upon rubbish heaps, their final resting places marked by the stench smell of decay. In the shadows of Claymore House, the echoes of their crimes comes through the night, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked beneath the veneer of respectability. Their innocent little souls, so pure, became pawns in Sach and Walters' twisted game, their lives sacrificed on the altered world of greed for money. On October 29, 1902, Annie Walters took lodgings at 11 Danbury Street, North London. The landlord, Mr. Seal, a police constable who rented a room to Annie Walters, who told him that she was a widow and needed a room, fresh from the hospital. She spun a tale of employment under Mrs. Sach, a woman who purportedly facilitated adoptions for children born to young, financially struggling women. Mrs. Walters eagerly awaited news of a potential adoption in Piccadilly, London, where a wealthy benefactor promised a generous sum of £100 for a newborn. As fate would have it, on November 21st, a woman gave birth to a baby girl, to which Amelia Sach from Claymore House was informed of the birth and sent a telegram to Annie Walters, who quickly proceeded from the house at lodgings 11 Danbury Street, London, at 5 o'clock, to collect the newborn. She later returned with a living child in tow, deceitfully claiming it was a girl. To complete her sinister task, Annie Walters, on return, spoke to a fellow lodger and asked her to go buy chlorodyne and carbolic acid for her, for just £1. On Friday, November 14th, a chilling sequence of events is still uncertain, but what unfolded, marking its turning point in the sinister saga orchestrated by Annie Walters. With a bundle cradled in her arms, let it be shown in the reports at 9 o'clock in the morning, the baby was strong and healthy and full of life as she departed from her lodgings, leaving behind a cloud of suspicion in her wake. A witness eye account. Annie Walters' movements that day remains shrouded in mystery and uncertainty, a veil of secrecy cloaking her every step. Yet at 3 o'clock, her presence was noted at Lockhart's Cocoa Rooms in Whitechapel, a seemingly innocuous setting that would soon bear witness to a scene of horror. There, in the dimly lit confines of the establishment, the bundle in her arms, wrapped around in a blanket, slipped down to reveal what looked like a lifeless baby doll from Annie Walters' grasp, revealing a ghastly sight that would haunt the eyewitnesses for years to come. The attendant at the Cocoa Rooms recoiled in horror as she witnessed the lifeless form within the bundle, its stillness a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of the bustling room. It was not a doll, as she initially presumed, but a baby, motionless and silent, its tiny chest unmoved by the rhythm of breath. Confronted about the bundle, Annie Walters wove a tale so outlandish, so absurd, that even the most hardened souls recoiled in disbelief. She claimed the bundle contained a baby under chloroform, reportedly recovering from a recent operation in a hospital. According to Annie Walters, the child was a week-old boy, destined to Amelia Sachs at Claymore House under her care. But the attendant, seasoned by the harsh realities of life, saw through the veil of lies to the grim truth that lay beneath. In her eyes, the child bore the unmistakable pallor of death, its once vibrant spirit extinguished by the cruel hand of fate. As the events of that fateful day unfolded, the stark contrast between life and death, hope and despair, painted a chilling portrait of the darkness that lurked within the human soul. And amidst the chaos and confusion, one undeniable fact remains. At 9 o'clock that morning, the baby had been strong and healthy. As the clock struck 8 o'clock in the evening, a shadow descended upon the once tranquil abode where Annie Walters dwelled. Her return home was marked by a palpable sense of unease, her footsteps heavy with the weight of secrets yet to be revealed. Drunkenness hung like a shrewd around hair, obscuring her features in a haze of intoxication. With a careless gesture, she tossed a bundle of baby's clothes onto the table before Mrs. Seal, the police officer's wife, her words dripping with disdain. "You have taken the poor little thing, then?" Mrs. Seal ventured, her voice trembling with apprehension. But the response that followed struck a chord of horror in the hearts of those who bore witness to the exchange. "Poor little thing, indeed," scoffed Annie Walters, her laughter ringing hollow in the dimly lit room. "You should have seen it in its laces and smart clothes," she added, her words dripping with mockery. But amidst the facade of indifference, a sinister truth lurked beneath the surface. Unbeknown to Mrs. Seal, the exchange of baby's clothes bore witness to a transaction far more sinister than mere drunken banter. For behind closed doors, Sach received a hefty sum of £25, a price paid in blood and tears for the innocent lives that had been lost. Police Constable Seal, ever vigilant in his duties as both landlord and guardian of the law, had long harbored suspicions about Annie Walters. Her erratic behavior, marked by the receipt of mysterious telegrams, and the dispatch of letters sealed with red wax, raised red flags in his mind. With a sense of urgency born of desperation, he enlisted the help of his son, Albert, a bright lad of 14 years, to keep watch over Annie Walters, his suspicions growing with each passing moment. In whispered conversations with his wife, a partner in both life and law enforcement, Constable Seal hatched a scheme that would test the limits of their ingenuity. Together, they turned to their son, Albert, a bright lad whose keen instincts belied his tender years, enlisting him as their eyes and ears in the shadowy world of East Finchley. Then, on November 15th, Albert embarked on his mission, his senses heightened by the weight of responsibility resting upon his young shoulders. With nimble feet, he followed Annie Walters to the dingy, dark streets of London, his determination unwavering in the face of uncertainty. As the tramway car rattled along its tracks, Albert bore witness to a meeting shrouded in mystery, as Annie Walters crossed paths with a young lady of elegance and refinement. Together they vanished into the depths of the Archway Tavern, a local English pub, their intentions veiled behind a facade of normalcy. But young Albert's vigilance did not falter. From his vantage point across the street, he watched with bated breath as Annie Walters returned home, cradling a newborn babe in his arms. The pieces of the puzzle started falling into place, revealing a truth more chilling than any fiction, so he quickly reported back to his father, Police Constable Seal. What he saw was the handing over of a bundle, which he thought in his mind was an infant. Police Constable Seal, a figure of authority who had played a pivotal role in unraveling the tangled web of deceit woven by Annie Walters. With a heavy heart and years of experience walking the beat, Constable Seal devised a cunning plan to ensnare the elusive culprit and bring her to justice. And so, the trap was set. On that fateful day, 18th of November morning, Constable Seal with Detective Wright stood and watched next door lying and waiting for, as Annie Walters emerged from the shadows of her lodgings with a bundle cradled in her arms. With bated breath, he watched as she cast furtive glances back over her shoulder, her movements betraying the weight of her guilt. And then, in a moment that would echo through the ages, Annie Walters was apprehended, her arms cradling not the promise of life, but the cold, lifeless form of an infant. In that instant, the truth was laid bare for all to see, a damning indictment of the betrayal of mothers and child that lurked within the dark streets of London. And so the trial began, hearing evidence from witnesses and damning police evidence from Claymore House, saw over of 300 pieces of baby clothing found in Sach's room. It was used as key evidence to indicate the involvement of Amelia Sach to show the sheer scale of their crimes. With tension as justice hung in the balance, with bated breath, the jury listened intently as the evidence against Annie Walters and Amelia Sach was laid bare for all to see, their crimes exposed in stark relief against the backdrop of their deceit. A local campaign to have their sentences commuted to life failed, due to the overwhelming evidence and eyewitnesses' accounts. The victim, a 4-day-old infant, belonged to Miss Ada Galley, a servant who had sought refuge in Claymore House after giving birth. Tragically, the child's life was cut short by the hands of Sach and Walters, who were swiftly apprehended and charged with murder. Annie Walters is being a feeble-minded lady, and some say she had a mindset of a 10-year-old little girl, a child herself who never really grew up. With her admission of administering 2 drops of chlorodyne, a deadly concoction of chloroform, cannabis, and opium, shed light on the chilling reality of their crimes. With her own addictions to the substances and being an alcoholic herself, painted a grim picture of the depths to which they would sink in pursuit of profit. As the trial unfolded at the Old Bailey in January 1903, the women maintained their innocence, yet their silence spoke volumes. An all-male jury wasted no time in delivering a guilty verdict, condemning them for their unwomanly callousness in perpetuating the horrible and extensive traffic in babies. The press echoed the public outrage, and the case reverberated across continents, shining a spotlight on the dark underbelly of Victorian society London. When police raided Claymore House, they uncovered a trove of baby clothing, evidence of Sach's complicity in the gruesome trade. Though Sach feigned ignorance of Walter's existence, the presence of incriminating telegrams left little doubt of her involvement. While her exact role may never be fully known, the jury found her guilty, sealing her fate alongside Walters. And then, with an eerie silence, the judge prepared to deliver his final verdict. "In the eyes of the law," he declared, "you are both guilty of the most heinous crimes imaginable. Your actions have robbed innocent children of their lives, and for that, you must be held accountable." And with those final words, the trial came to a close, the echoes of the judge's pronouncement reverberating through the courtroom as Annie Walters and Amelia Sach were led away to face the consequences of their actions. Verdict: death by hanging. Until this day, we still don't know the exact amount of children that suffered and died through the hands of Annie Walters and Amelia Sach. On February 3, 1903, the 2 women met their end at Holloway Prison. The bodies of Sach and Walters were buried in unmarked graves within the walls of Holloway Prison, as was customary. But in 1971, the prison underwent an extensive program of rebuilding, during which the bodies of all the executed women were exhumed. With the exception of Ruth Ellis, the remains of the 4 other women executed at Holloway, Stilo Christophe, Edith Thompson, Sach, and Walters were subsequently reburied in a single grave, plot 1/17, at Brookwood Cemetery. The grave is marked with a horizontally laid gray granite tombstone, and the names of all the occupants are engraved on it. And so, Amelia Sach and Annie Walters, perpetrators of heinous crimes, left a chilling legacy of deceit and horror. Their monstrous acts scarred families and haunted communities, yet amidst the darkness, let us remember the innocent souls they failed. May their memory be a beacon of love, reminding us to cherish and protect every child, ensuring such tragedies never darken our world again. If you crave chilling tales of true crimes, please subscribe, like, and share. Dive into the darkest mysteries with us and join a community captivated by the truth behind the shadows.